the ta, the thought, tahara, is an essential aspect of Islam. Observing cleanliness of the soul, the clothes, the body, and the surroundings is obligatory upon every Muslim. And this is considered as one of the pillars of Islam. One of the very first things that young kids are taught in most Islamic curriculums is how to do what? Make wudu'a. Yes. The word zakah is a verb that means to be pure in heart, to be righteous. Now, this is an interesting phenomenon. But people often say to me, it's not possible for us to be righteous. That was for the prophets. But if you remember a few weeks ago, I had a verse up here that said that we are supposed to do what the prophets did. That's not an excuse. In Surah 24, Surah An-Nur, verse 21, O you who believe, follow not Satan's footsteps. If any will follow the footsteps of Satan, he will but command what is shameful and wrong. When you are doing shameful and wrong things and you know that you couldn't do it in front of the imam, really in front of Allah is the way you should think about it, but unfortunately in this world, I think a lot of people think more about, can I do this in the masjid, could I do this in front of my imam? If you're doing something that you couldn't do in front of everybody, and I grew up, my mom used to always say to me, if you ever do something that you wouldn't do in front of me, you know you're doing something wrong. And that was like a mantra in my head that I used to hear all the time. You are following the footsteps of Satan if you do harmful and shameful things because you think you're hiding. Do you see that in this verse, folks? He will command what is shameful and wrong. And were it not for the grace and mercy of Allah on you, not one of you would ever have been pure. But Allah does purify whom He pleases. And Allah is one who hears and knows all things. Zakah, to purify, to cleanse. Surah Al-Sham, Surah 91, verse 7 through 9. By the soul and the proportion and order given to it by you. What is the proportion that you're giving to your soul? For example, and somebody, would you just check the math on this? I believe I calculated that if you spend 30 minutes at the gym a day, you'll be devoting 2% of your day to your health.
What?
Math. Would you do the math for me?
Do I have to?
2%? No, you don't. I believe I'm right. 2% of your day is 30 minutes.
Out of 24 hours. Are you saying?
Yes. Yes. Somebody do for me what that would be. All right, and try to listen to the class as well.
24 minutes is 10%.
24 minutes is
10%, I think.
Yeah, that's 2.4 hours.
Yeah.
10% is 2.4 hours.
Right. So if you take 10% of it, or
1%. So half of that would be 12.
that's 160
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
160 minutes. Yeah. Basically,
10%.
what's
So
it?
10% is 2.4 hours. 1% would be 24 minutes.
So
Okay.
2% is 0.48 hours.
So let's just say then,
Yeah.
in pretty good determination, 2% would be an hour at the gym a day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2% of your day is an hour. Think about it now. How much time are you giving to develop and evolve your spiritual self? Now listen, I can easily spend 2 hours at the gym. It's a piece of cake for me to spend 2 hours at the gym. Now I do about anywhere from 10, according to how much coffee I've had, 10 to 16 miles in 65 minutes. on a cycle. Now, how much am I doing to develop my soul? Yes, sister.
It's 30 minutes.
So 30 minutes is 2%.
10% of a day is 2.5 hours, which is 150 minutes. 10% of that is 15 minutes. Twice that is 30 minutes.
So I did calculate right.
You are
2%
so
of
good.
your day is 30. I never trust myself mathematically. 2% of your day is 30 minutes. I can't believe I
You
calculated that
gotta remember,
correctly.
my brain doesn't work as fast.
But I
as
knew
it
that
used to.
Susan would fix it if I was wrong. So listen up, folks. 2% of your day is 30 minutes. A lot of people I know spend 4% of their day at the gym. 1 hour. They say, I got to go to the gym at least an hour. Now I ask you to look inside your heart. I don't want any answers out loud. What percentage of your day based on that do you spend developing your soul?
You mean namaz?
No. Whatever it is. Prayer, fasting, consciously purifying the self.
5 times namaz is almost like a 2%.
Well, that's about 50 minutes.
30 minutes.
But if that's ritualistic, how much growth is going to come from that?
And it will grow.
And it will grow exponentially, yes. I just want you to try to think in terms of something I felt you would relate to. That's why I gave you that 2% figure.
But namaz take at least 30 minutes.
Well, most people that are working in the corporate world are not praying 30 to 45 minutes. They're praying about 10 minutes, 5 prayers, that's 50 minutes. But then outside of that, and I don't want to get lost in the minor details because I think the value of this class is the context of the class, not in arguing about the figures. I hope I'm making a point here. I don't want to lose the value of this in getting stuck in point by point detail. Okay. I know people that go to the masjid. They pray in the masjid 5 times a day. I've seen them. I've prayed beside them. And sometimes later, I am in my office seeing that couple because that prayer didn't do too much purification. I'm going to leave it at that. You can fill in the blanks. Surah 20, Surah Taha, verse 76, garlands of eternity beneath which flow rivers. They will dwell therein for aye. Such is the reward. I think this must have been a Canadian that did this. Such is the reward of recompense of those who purify themselves from evil. Stop and ask yourself for a moment. Everybody in here, please don't answer out loud. Just quiet. Turn inside yourself and say, is there anything in my life that I do that's evil? Just for a moment. Is there anything that I do that if Imam Sykes came to my house, I wouldn't do that? And I'm nobody, because Allah is all-seeing, all-knowing. But sometimes it just helps us to relate to how we really think. Or at least how it's been reported to me that people think.
But why somebody will be evil when you come to my house?
No, well, they usually won't be. The question is, are they doing something when I'm not there that they wouldn't do when I am there? That's the question. Do you think that there are Muslims that do things at their houses, but if the Imam came, they wouldn't do it in front of them?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay. Let's just look at a few verses in regards to this obligation. In Surah 35 and 18, and perform the prayer, and whosoever purifies himself. Surah 79 and 18 ask a profound question. Hast thou the will, the shah, to purify thyself? There is some will involved in this. Do I have the will that if my teacher tells me that there's 3,000 chemicals in a cigarette, or that cigarette smoking, the old scholars, oh, that's off the board now, is makruh, but now they say it's actually haram, do I have the will to let it go? Surah 87 and 14, prosperous is he or she who is cleansed, him or herself. How do you cleanse yourself? Help me. Yes, sister.
Going to classes, going to desks, reflection, self-reflection, anything that you can create a habit out of. Say that your heart calls in out of love of your man. So always trying to work on it, even though you're not always inclined to.
Very good. By the way, is anybody here for the first time today in this class? Please stand up. I forgot to recognize you. I usually always do this. Russia Mubarak works for CARE, used to be with the Arab American community. MashaAllah, Russia is an amazing activist in our community. I love you dearly, and it's an honor to have you here today.
Did she speak at the Palestine Walk?
Yes, she did. She was the coordinator, absolutely. And brother, please introduce yourself.
Ziad.
Ziad Ma'ali, mashallah. How many Ma'alis are here? Raise your hand. Alhamdulillah. I'm telling you, this is amazing, mashallah. It's wonderful. Great family, mashallah. Alhamdulillah. Surah 35, we want to welcome you, and we pray that this is the first of the beginning of something in your work to purify yourself, that you've come here and you learn and you are with a group of people that will nurture you. That's what we want to do here. That's the vision for this organization, that you are nurtured to purify yourself, that you feel loved and supported to do that. Surah 35:18 purifies him or herself only for his own soul's good. Surah 80 and verse 3, what should teach thee? Perchance he or she would cleanse him. Before offering prayers, it is necessary to perform wudu'ah, and in certain cases both wudu'ah and ghusl with pure water. When water is not available or scarce, a symbolic wudu'ah and ghusl can be performed with clean dry earth, which is known as tayammum. Look at the beauty of this, folks, that we talk about dirt, which we are created from, and that we can actually purify ourselves when there's no water available by touching the dirt with our hands, doing this, touching our face. That's called tayammum. A person must not touch the Quran if the person is not in a state of tahara. Yes, brother.
But wasn't the Quran put into a book after Prophet was?
Yes, it was. It was memorized by the companions and then later compiled into the book. Very good.
What is the tahara?
Tahara is cleanliness. It's one of the verbs that means to cleanse. Now, in another context, when we talk about tahara, we talk about the way that we are to worship. So part of tahara is the wudu'ah. What does the Quran say? Wash your hands from here to the elbow. Wash your faces, wet your hair, and wash your feet up to the ankle. That is a form of tahara, a form of cleanliness. If I'm getting ready to pray and I take a little broom and I clean up the place and make sure it's clean because that's where I'm going to pray, that is a part of tahara. If I clean my heart because all of a sudden I had an evil thought because somebody gossiped about me and I said, may Allah curse you. Tahara is cleaning myself of that. Do you know that before I became a Muslim, I never heard a person curse a person in that manner? I did hear cursing, those 4-letter words. I did hear a little bit of that here and there. But I had never heard anybody say, may God curse you and your mother. This was like the most foreign thing I had ever heard in my life. That people would actually have it in their heart that they would pray for something bad to happen to someone. Is that a question, brother, or a stretch?
Question.
Okay.
So clean means what then? Before you touch the Quran.
Clean is body, soul, and spirit cleansing.
So Imam Sahib, when we do that, then the Quran ends up in the top shelf, wrapped up in,
No, it
10
doesn't.
layers.
No, I'm afraid there's a flaw in your understanding there.
Huh.
In order to maintain that clean state, we must always be making dhikr. And this was another class that we covered. You always have to be bringing yourself back. That's like
I
the
don't get
food.
that you want to be a Muslim before you read the Quran. You have to read the Quran to become a Muslim.
Yes.
Don't you?
This is why you have to purify.
If you're already clean, then you don't need to read the Quran, I guess.
All you need.
But you're not clean when you become a Muslim because the world and your events have dirtied you. You were born clean as a baby,
Yeah.
but then you watched other people get away with things and you adopted that behavior. Your environment took you away from Islam, took you away from the fitrah of Allah.
I guess the intention should be clean, that's about it. And when you pick up the Quran, you should not pick up the Quran to quote it for wrong reasons.
Right.
And I think that's how far it goes. Cleanliness to me is intention.
Just make sure you have wudu before.
Did you say that cleanliness is retention? There was
Is intention.
Intention, okay.
Your niyat should be clean.
But let me ask you this, Nasser. If my niyat, I say my niyat is pure, but Islam says that I am not supposed to perform riyaba or niyama. Niyama? No, that's not right. It's namima. Who said that? Thank you, namima. Yeah, sometimes I mix my Arabic words up. Now, that means, now I can say my intention is pure. I'm a good Muslim, alhamdulillah, mashallah. Hasana, did you know Sister So-and-so? Did you know what she did? Did you hear? Have you heard? See, now all of a sudden something happened to my intention. I thought my intention was intact, but something happened. And I saw Afsana, and I saw an opportunity. I'm just teasing you, Afsana. Because Afsana is an upright woman in our community, mashallah. But we do know that there's a look on people's face. There's a look on people's face that tells you that something might be flawed in their intention. If I say that, I'm going to come to Dr. Sadi. If I'm a married man, and I decide that I'm going to go out with another woman.
Thank God another woman.
Yeah, but
You would
is my intention okay? Now, I hadn't sought any permission from my senior wife, by the way.
You would dare to do that.
But I'm asking you a question. I'm trying to service Dr. Nasser's question.
I understand where you're going, but your intention, that's not my judge your intention. That's between you and Allah. So if my niyat is clean, I can pick it up if I came from exercise, running from exercise. If I played with my dogs and they licked me, unfortunately, I wash my hands. As long as I'm not dirty, as long as I'm not,
You still make wudu.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Dr. Sadia and then Rushda, I'm sorry. Let me just say this, that purifying religion means that your practice, your aqidah has to be purified. When we talk about, that's part of purifying the religion and the deen. See, correct practice in Islam is not that I can just say, well, my intention is pure. So the dog licked me, now I'm going to pray. That's just not correct aqidah. I'm sorry. I respect your opinion, but I can't allow that to be propagated here because I'm responsible for what's taught here. Your aqidah, you're always, let me tell you, I practiced things in Islam that were wrong. Later I learned that it was right and I had to correct my deen, my way of life. My way of life before was a certain way. When I learned the correct way, I have to correct that. My intention was good the whole time, but I was doing what was wrong. If I continue to do that after I've learned, it doesn't matter. I might think my intention is good, but my intention is flawed. There's something wrong. There's an incongruence in it. Dr. Sadia and
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, I think what you meant, what I understood by the state of Tahara is that you don't have to be a pure person to pick up the Quran. You need to be physically clean, and I think that is just the way, like when you go to see a patient, you don't go in dirty clothes and say, well, my dogs licked me, and they licked my clothes, but it's all right, I just wash my hands and here I am. But you go clean when you're doing something that is dignified as a professional. And that's all, you don't have to take a big shower, elaborate shower or anything, and you don't have to be 100% pure as a person because there is no such person. But just physically you have to be clean, and it is recommended that you wear clean clothes. I mean, we have teenage kids, we don't like their rooms to be dirty, and why is that? That's the basic concept behind it, is cleanliness is a very important part of Islam.
How many verses have we seen in the last 2 weeks that command us to cleanse so many things?
Many.
It is, that's why I say purification is obligation. Do I mean that we've got to be clinically clean like in a surgical theater? We call that an operating room in this. That's not what I'm saying here. We don't want to walk around with rubber gloves. That is one form of cleanliness. Maybe good for the hospital setting, but the most important thing is that piece of flesh within our heart that we've got to clean up. If that is not clean, no matter what your intentions are, some things will come out of you that are not in alignment and harmony with Islam. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Nasser, did your wife help clarify that?
She's working on it.
You have to say yes or you'll be in big trouble. Rashad, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that, Islamically, intention is the start, then you have to follow through with it. You can't just intend on doing something and not do it. It doesn't count. So you intend on doing something, you follow through with anything you do in life, not just with, purification. Also, you can't expect to change Islam to your way of life. You have to change your way of life to suit Islam. So, the things that you're doing that's not Islamic, that has to be changed for the belief. That's a purification rather than changing the concept of Islam to modern times and changing it to what suits you. That's it. So,
Here, we will continue on this next week because we have a very exciting Jeopardy game today. So, Maysoon, if you and Susan can get everything set up for the...
And the class better, I'll cut the camera off.
Yes. So I love you all for the sake of Allah. This is the end of this portion, but I'd love for you all to stay. We're going to do our very exciting monthly Jeopardy game.